Okay, well, good afternoon, everybody. My name's Matthew Bloxham. I run the EMEA research group at Bloomberg Intelligence. Before I get into the meat of my presentation, perhaps a few words on Bloomberg Intelligence. I'm sure you're all incredibly familiar with Bloomberg, but maybe quite not so much Bloomberg Intelligence. We are a 300-strong group of analysts based across London, New York, Hong Kong, writing on a daily basis about investment opportunities across pretty much every major sector of industry across every region. If you're a terminal client, you get our research and access to the analysts behind the research for free. And for a lot of people, that's actually in its own right justification for a subscription. So I'm here to talk a bit more about how the investment community sees the 5G opportunity. And I thought it was worth just kind of reflecting a little bit on where we've come with mobile technology. And mobile technology, every technology has its own particular story. 2G really took mobile to the mass market. 3G, if we're generous, was just a great idea, a bit ahead of its time. And 4G was really the kind of the realization of that original 3G idea. It was successful because of its simplicity. It created a mobile version of the internet. And it's the foundation on which basically the likes of Apple, Facebook, Google, Tencent, they've all kind of created their hundreds of billions of dollars of value. And I guess the issue with 5G is that no one's quite sure what the story is. And maybe that's because there could be 3 or 4 or 5 different stories that it could turn out to be. But it does need to find a story if it's going to be successful. And so in that context, we felt it was a great opportunity to ask investment professionals what they actually thought of 5G today and where they see it going. So we ran a survey. We ran this survey in late January, early February. We had about 150 or so investment professionals, mainly what we call buy-siders, who are basically investment professionals working at fund management groups. But also we talked to sell-siders, so people working at investment banks who are advising those investors on where to put their money. And we also had a few corporates, mainly investor relations professionals, take part as well. Quite a few of these investors based in the US, about 2/3 of the respondents in the US, another 25% or so from Europe, and the rest in Asia. So the first question we asked them is whether 5G actually is important or not to their investment process. And I guess reassuringly, the answer to that question is yes. So all those billions of dollars and that hard work that people are putting into 5G is actually worth something to the investment community. About 75% or so said it was either somewhat or very important to their process. We also asked them about their current attitude and whether that's changed much over the last year. About half or so of our respondents said that their views on 5G hadn't really changed over the last 12 months, but directionally, sentiment is improving. Just over 35% of our respondents said that they were feeling more optimistic about 5G than they were a year ago. And that's about 3 times as many people have said they were feeling more pessimistic. So sentiment shift is definitely moving in the right direction. And that's, I think, because we're getting closer to really understanding what 5G is and the kind of real networks coming into operation. But even if sentiment is getting more positive, the kind of expectations that the investment community have about the incremental benefit from 5G are quite modest. About 2/3 of our respondents think that at a maximum, you're going to get an incremental revenue to the whole industry value chain of 10% or less. So that's only 1 or 2% growth per annum. So it's really not a huge change in where we are today. And I think to some degree, something's just changed. That shouldn't be there. Somebody has deleted half my slides. Okay, well, I'm going to tell you that to some degree, that was about the 3 main use cases. So obviously, you've got enhanced mobile broadband, you've got the low latency, and you've got the massive connectivity. When we asked consumers about, the respondents about that, they basically were roughly a third. So no clear view about which of those 3 big use cases is going to actually deliver value for the industry from 5G. I think given that we don't have the slides, I'm going to skip a few more, but talk about where the survey respondents actually saw the value coming from in the future. And we asked a number of questions about which parts of the value chain, which regions, and which industry groups might benefit most. So, moving to the first question, we asked, when we think about the industry value chain, where is most of that value going to accrue? Surprising to me was that network equipment vendors got such a big vote of approval. So Nokia, Ericsson, Huawei, those kind of people. More surprising to me was at the other end of the scale, people have quite a low perception of the opportunity for technology consultants. We've been hearing today about how much B2B opportunity there is from 5G. And I think that technology consultants are actually going to be the dark horse of the 5G opportunity. It's surprising to me that actually no one's really picked up on that quite yet. We also asked about regions. Perhaps not surprisingly, North America, China and Asia came out tops in terms of where people see the biggest 5G opportunity coming. Interesting to me that people have such a lowly expectation of Europe. I think that reflects what we've seen in 4G. There's so much competition, such a kind of unique regulatory environment in Europe that investors just don't see a huge change or opportunity for Europe from 5G. We also asked about industry verticals. I think at first glance, perhaps not so many surprises here. People really putting their money behind automotive. To me, I don't personally share that. I think I've seen so much change in the automotive technology solution stack. I personally think that 5G is going to be a secondary or a tertiary technology in that. So I wouldn't be putting my money personally against automotive as being the big 5G winner. I think clearly media and entertainment is quite a big area, and I think particularly gaming and the low latency that you can get from 5G networks could be a big opportunity. I was quite surprised how low people put things like agriculture, financial services, and retail. These are areas where I've actually read quite a bit about quite specific 5G use cases. So again, quite surprising that's not seen as a bigger opportunity. Okay, I apologize for this. Somebody's kind of really messed up these slides, and we did check them before. So the last one that we're going to go to is about companies. And we asked people to name a particular company that they thought would benefit most from 5G. About 65 of the respondents gave an answer to this. Overwhelmingly, Verizon came out top. Perhaps not that surprising, given that about 2/3 of the respondents came from the US. But you see Nokia and Ericsson there as kind of major beneficiaries, which is consistent with the view that people have that the hardware vendors are going to be big winners. But quite an interesting mix there. So I apologize for the slight mix-up. We've got a little bit of time. I think this is going to be another one that I talked to. I'll just capture a couple of the other slides that we did have. We did ask people about the disruptive threat from fixed wireless. And again, it is slightly ironic that we're talking about the next wave of mobile technology, and perhaps one of the clearest use cases is as a disruptor for the fixed line telecom industry. And where there is a clear use case, this tells you that investors understand it, they get it, and they back it. So I think, certainly the things that people like Verizon are doing in the US, 3 in the UK, Sunrise in Switzerland, Fastweb in Italy, all using 5G to grow their business at the expense of fixed line operators is an interesting one. I think it's going to be where we see some of the first disruption and shake-up in the telecom industry over the next 12 months. So I'm going to leave it there. I hope you found that interesting. I apologize a little bit about the jumping around, but something went wrong with our kind of slide order there. If you're a Terminal subscriber, you can get access. We published this research onto the Terminal a couple of hours ago. If you're not and you'd like a copy, then I'm happy to share it with you. Matthew blocks him on LinkedIn is probably the best way to get access to me, and I can share the results with you by that. So thanks very much.